Rodger, in our luncheon lecture today, you kind of brought us up to speed and shook some of the road dust off us by sharing some statistics on just how engaged young people are in all manners of smartphones, devices, mobile technology, et cetera. But then you pivoted towards creating a theological frame for what this means for the minister, for the youth minister, for the youth worker by reference to Corinthians 9. Set for us just a starting point, theological frame for how ministers might come into this conversation and understand their role.
Yeah, thank you, Skip. So, yes, I'm fascinated by the church in Corinth and by the two letters that we have from Paul to the church in Corinth. I'm fascinated because in many ways the church in Corinth, I think, resembles the kind of church that I know, where there are well-meaning people, but they're in conflict. There are contestations over the kinds of practices in which we are engaged as a congregation, what it means to follow Christ in this day and age. And Corinth, being located where it is a crossroads of many cultures and many challenges. In 1 Corinthians 9, Paul speaks to the church and says that in different ways he has made himself available, all for the purpose of sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. So, for instance, he says, to those who were Jews, I became as a Jew, which is fascinating because Paul himself, of course, is Jewish. Then he says, to those under the law, I became as one under the law. Reference scholars are thinking that Paul is talking about Gentile Christians who have chosen to adopt Jewish ways. He says to those outside the law, a clear reference to Gentiles themselves who have chosen not to follow the Jewish ways. He says, Paul says, I become like one outside the law, and to the weak I become like the weak. And the whole purpose of this is not some sense of duplicity or even morphing for the sake of changing. The whole purpose of this is to be able to share the gospel in a way that different persons are able to hear and understand and grasp it and live it and give glory to God. It seems to me that sets a pretty powerful biblical and theological reference point for us in a technological age as this is. So our job is not to deny technology. Technology is here to stay. Social media is here to stay. Our job is to be conversant with it, is to understand what it is as best we possibly can, and like Paul, to adapt the method that we use to communicate the gospel so that persons who are in this social media age can appropriate the message of the gospel. The message of the gospel is the same. Hebrews tells us that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and that is true. But it does not say that the message of Jesus Christ, the way we convey that message, is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The message is changing, even the method of the message, while the essential message itself of Jesus Christ is not changing.